is Bean to Barstool, a podcast that looks at the intersections of craft beer and craft chocolate. My name is David Nilsson. I'm a professional beer writer and an advanced cicerone, and the creator and host of this show. The music for this episode is by my dear friend, indie folk musician Anna P.S. You can find out more about Anna's music in the show notes or at her website, annapsmusic.com. You can find links and information about our guests in the show notes as well. I hope you enjoy this episode of Bean to Barstool.
I think the story is how great is Mexico, because we have a lot of ingredients we can use in the beer to show the people that we have different flowers, fruits, herbs, spice. We can use those ingredients with one beer and we have different kind of results.
That's Lucia Carrillo, founder and head brewer at Cervercería Itañeñe in Mexico City, a very small brewery that's big on flavor, often using ingredients from Mexican culinary traditions or ingredients endemic to the country. Lucia is partners with Rodrigo Romo at Itañeñe, and Rodrigo also works at Tout Chocolat, which makes craft chocolate bars and bonbons, pastries, and coffee at its cafes in the Mexico City area. Tout uses many of the same flavor ingredients that make it into Itañeñe's beers, and Rodrigo and Lucia have worked together on beers and chocolates that use similar ingredients, as well as beers using chocolate or its ingredients, or chocolates using beer or its ingredients, to blur the lines between these worlds. I first tried one of Itañeñe's beers at the Great Mexican Beer Fiesta at Cervecería Colorado in Denver several years ago. The one-day fest takes place during the Great American Beer Festival at the same time, and it's my favorite part of GABF week. Cervecería Colorado and Itañeñe had collabed on a beer brewed with Rosita de Cacao, a flower unrelated to Theobroma cacao, but sharing some of the cocoa-like flavors. This past fall, I had the privilege of being a judge at Copa Cerveza Mexico, and finally got to meet Lucia and Rodrigo. One night at a party for judges, our mutual friend John Haggerty, brewmaster at Warped Wing Brewing here in Dayton, introduced us and we hit it off right away. Later in the trip, I walked to Tout's beautiful Hippodrome location and sat at an outdoor cafe table enjoying a flat white and several of their excellent bonbons. I had the chance to talk with Lucia and Rodrigo recently about their pursuit of unique flavors, their chocolate and beer collaborations, and what makes Mexican beer and chocolate unique and exciting. At the outset, I asked how they got involved in these worlds in the first place.
For me, it was really clear that I love pastry and beer, both of them, since an early age. So it was easier for me because my mom is a pastry chef and we have a family restaurant to get into gastronomy and mostly into pastry. But in my mind, it was always like, I would like to do something with beer. I would like to do my own beer or do something about it. I was always trying to pair it together or to do something together. So I was working in the industry. I was kind of in the middle of the mix of how beer was becoming a thing here in Mexico. And I was trying to be there. And suddenly I saw an opportunity. It was more like a course in how to taste it. It was mostly a tasting kind of experience. So I went there and I saw that I could do my own beer. I know how to do bread, so it wouldn't be so complicated. And I started playing with that. And that's when I met Lucia. And I think we did a good click from the beginning, me being a gastronomist and her being an engineer. I think we had a lot of things in common, and it all started there.
For my perspective, like Rodrigo said, I'm a food engineer, and all the time I want to be more deep in the fermentation and stuff. So in the beginning, it was more like grapes fermentation, no grains and all that stuff, not for the beer. But I realized also that chocolate is one of my favorite thing in the world. So I realized that the process and the fermentation, it was very interesting. A lot of bacterials, the wildness are not for the fermentation. I think is very interesting. When I met Rodrigo, I was very, very deep in the chocolate brownies and all that stuff. So I'm a food engineer that is very interesting in the gastronomy, and I think Rodrigo is a gastronomy very interesting in the science of the food. So that's why we make a very good partnership.
That's great. Lucia, can you share a little bit about the state of craft beer in Mexico right now and how that's growing?
Yes, I think it's growing very fast, but in the same time, a lot of small breweries are closing because nowadays the economy is not so good. Of course, in the COVID, a lot of the biggest ones close and we have that kind of problems. But I have to say that in the north, the Baja part is they have a lot of force in the beer industry, and they are start to growing more because now we have more information about how to make beer. Also, we have like a food engineer. For my perspective, it was very difficult to find some stuff about the beer. It was only one class with a little bit of malts, not so much. Nowadays, in the university, they have a whole information about how to make beer. Even in the university where I studied, now they have a plant laboratory for making beer. When I was there was nothing. So I think in that part is interesting because nowadays also the university are taking more part of that part of the craft beer, and they know that we have a lot of information now for the beer industry because in the past it was only tequila or mezcal or wine, but now the beer industry is growing a lot. We have a lot of people that can travel and have a scholarship for another university like Davis or Harriet or blah blah blah, that they can bring more information. Or nowadays with the Zooms or the online classes, we can have more information about new techniques. We have more information about books, and also there are some guys that they are translating some of the biggest books. So I think that is increasing also the familiarity of making beer.
Is there much home brewing in Mexico currently?
Yes. Actually, there is a bigger association of home brewing. All the states they have his own club, but also they gather together and they have the biggest one.
Rodrigo, tell us a little bit about the state of craft chocolate in Mexico currently. Obviously, chocolate goes back millennia in Mexico, but the current movement of craft chocolate, how is that growing?
Yeah, I think this year is a really, really hard year for all the craft chocolatiers because chocolate has had a really, really, really setback with the problems that have been occurring in Africa mostly.
Mhm.
So the prices are going really, really to the sky. It's really, really hard to get either cacao or chocolate. So I think it's gonna be a major setback to a lot of shops, a lot of people that are trying to do something with chocolate here in Mexico. I think it's worldwide. Wide. I have talked to people that I know, like in France, the US, and stuff, and they're saying like it's gonna be really difficult for the next like 3 to 5 years to get it together. Like the big companies are taking matters on their own and buying everything just to get the product out. So we are in the last part of the chain, so we get the least. But in our side, we're trying to work with the people in the communities, try to get the best out of the things that are growing here in Mexico. And I think compared to the last 20 years, I think, agriculture-wise, engineer-wise, chocolate has been growing really well in Mexico, but the problem stays the same. I think we have good raw material, but to transform that raw material, the industrialize of making that a good chocolate bar, that needs a lot of money, and there's not enough money put into that. So I think that's where the problem will try to dissolve in a way. But I think we're enthusiastic. More and more people are into getting more like the chocolate bars that are like more artisanal and not like the big food chains or the big names like Nestle or stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good. It's coming together, but the problem with the crops is going to be a major setback. Yeah.
Are you able to source most of your cacao from Mexico, or do you import beans for your own chocolate?
We actually try to do a mix because we want to be a chocolate place, like an especially kind of chocolate place. So we try to have chocolate from all around the world, but we try to make more emphasis on the Mexican ones. And with those ones, it's easier in a way to get it and to do deals with them and to have like the product like always available. But even so, it has been wild this last year. The prices were going up every month, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it was not like 2%, or it was like 10, 15, 20%. And the impact that have in our final product price was difficult to explain to the whole kind of population. Like people were saying like, how come you increase the prices like 3 times in the same year? And it's like, yeah, but it's the same to us. Everyone is going up and up because of the problems with this crops, right?
Yeah. And it's hard when you're already trying to convince them to pay more for this product than they're used to, and then that price is going up even farther. Let's talk a little bit about collaborations between the brewery and the chocolate company. Lucia, let's start with you a little bit. What are some opportunities you've had to work with various forms of cacao or craft chocolate in brewing?
Well, it was very scary in the beginning because I say, okay, it's a lot of fat, it's a lot of oil.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that is a big problem for the foam, and we have we start to pairing only the beer and the chocolates, and also Rodrigo start to make some new creation inspired in beer. But in the end, we have a very big friend. He told us, okay, you have the chocolatier, you have the techniques, why you don't use it and make a very good and excellent beer? I said, okay, okay, so that hit us in the ego. So we start to make it was a imperial stout with a chocolate, and we add amburana. So we want to increase the flavor of the chocolate, trying to make a mix of the flavors. We have a gold medal in Ecuador.
Yeah.
In Ecuador.
Mitad del mundo.
Yeah, in Mitad del Mundo, the
Sure.
competition. So that's when we really start to make more beers with chocolate. We try to make new techniques. If we can add the chocolate in the fermentation or in dust or the bar.
Yeah.
So I think we start making that. It was difficult in the beginning because some chocolates, they add sugar. So we have a chocolatier. So sometimes I ask, can we have some without sugar? Because otherwise the beer increasing the alcohol, the high alcohol is also bad for the beer in some ways. So we try to make our effort.
So you're actually working with finished chocolate rather than using cacao nibs or something like that.
Yes, yes.
We have tried with cocoa shells with the shell of the cacao with the nibs. And I think we got the best results with the paste, with the cocoa paste. Yeah.
Okay. So you're taking like the chocolate liquor basically rather than a finished bar. Okay.
Because also find the pulp of the cacao, it was a little more complicated for us to have that very big amount. And also the price, it was crazy. So we need to find a new technique.
Yeah, we did some experiments with the pulp, like doing like and we that translated to a beverage in the chocolate shop. We do a fermentation with the pulp and the whole cacao. We do a fermentation in water, but it's a wild fermentation, and then we finish it up with a espresso. But the coffee is a natural fermentation coffee, so you get the natural fermentation from the coffee and the cocoa bean. And we wanted it to build that up to make a beer, but it was crazy the amount of cocoa that you will need to do even 1 barrel kind of batch. But it's in the making. I think we have not lost the idea yet.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I would love to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other ideas do you have for ways that you would like to use cacao or chocolate in beer?
We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, Final Gravity Issue 7 is now available in the Bean to Barstool shop. This new issue of our zine telling personal, human-centered stories from the world of beer is full of great articles, including Ale Sharpton's interview with Doug Reiser of Burial Beer about the brewery's stunning artwork and how the Asheville community is recovering from Hurricane Helene, Megan Ululani Boyanton's article about Indigenous-owned breweries in the United States and the unique opportunities and challenges they face, Sandra Worth's account of 60 years of the Swiss beer cartel, and many, many more. We believe passionately in this project, and if you believe the story of beer is ultimately a story about people and relationships, we think you'll love Final Gravity. You can order the issue or subscribe on beantobarstool.com, or subscribe on Patreon at patreon.com/beantobarstoolzines. Now, back to the episode.
I think what we have learned, or what excited us the most, was to trying to translate either the cocoa world to the beer or the beer to the cocoa world. So we have been doing like infusions with barleys and with hops to do ganache and to make that ganache more like flavorful and have that like really essence of a beer. I remember the first time we did truffles, but instead of doing like cocoa powder, we rolled them into hops. Yeah, it was I think the one that I loved the most was like the French street spouts. That is really low alpha acid. So we made a powder out of the pellets and we rolled the truffles into that. And that was a whole new idea for us. I know we were not inventing anything. Someone has done it before or whatever, but the idea of having like an malt infusion ganache with the hops outside and pairing that with I don't know, maybe like a black IPA or something. It was really, really good to bring the beer world to the chocolate. And then with the chocolates, I think mostly like the ones that I have loved doing it are the ones that are inspiring Mexican kind of stuff, like beverage like Tejate that we have used, the Rosita de Cacao, that it's a flower that tastes like cacao but has nothing to do with cacao. So that translation went from the chocolate world in a way to the brewery and try to take out the techniques of the beverage and translate them into the beer. And I think that has been our kind of a success in a way of merging those two words.
But also we have some inspiration with the cakes. For example, we have a beer that it was amazing. It was
Black Forest.
yes, it was a Black Forest in the beer. We have the construction about the flavors. We have a blend with an imperial stout with chocolate and also an imperial Berliner Weiss with cherries. So we need to find the correct balance in order that the flavor was exactly like the cake. So also it was the mix between the pastry but chocolate stuff with the beer.
Yeah, these all sound amazing. Everything you're both saying, I just want to try each thing. The beer you mentioned with the Flor de Cacao, I think is the only beer of yours I've gotten to try. I had it at Cervecería, Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple years ago at their Great Mexican Beer Fiesta that they do at the end of the Great American Beer Festival, and it was excellent. Yeah, that was. But I every beer you keep mentioning, I want to try them all. You mentioned Amburana earlier with the chocolate, and I can imagine that working so well because of the spice flavors in that wood, kind of mimicking using cinnamon or chili peppers or something else like that with chocolate.
Yeah, that's why we use it, because we have, okay, this is amazing. It's like we have a Mexican chocolate already in the beer with using only the oak.
Yeah, and actually we did that with the one you try. We did it as a barrel age with Amburana and French oak, and with that we won gold in the Cerveza Mexico here in the competition.
Ah, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned rolling the truffles in hop powder. What was the reaction like to that from the general public when they got to try it?
Let me answer that. It was funny because we started selling that truffles, but we realized that the common people that really love the chocolate but is not interested in beer, they hate it, because I think the bitterness, it was so high, but it was a very big success with the people that is interested in the beer and the chocolate, and more the people that is making the beer. So it was crazy that we have our best friends. Actually, John Palmer, he's not interested about the chocolate, so we offer some of them and say, okay, I really not interested, but I can try. Okay, let me try a little bit. Okay, okay, that's amazing. So let me try another one.
6 truffles after. You want interesting.
The thing is that we realize that that kind of flavor is for people that is very involved in training the palate, because our ¿cómo puedo decir? Sabores adquiridos.
Yeah, I think what we have found is like it's easier when you do it like as a catering, and you are telling the people how to taste it while they are tasting. Because when you just give them the chocolate blindfolded and they open it up, their aspiration or their perspective is that it's gonna be maybe sweet or maybe just like kind of sour or something. But then you get this punch of flavors coming from the hops, and if you're not well taken care of, you might just go crazy, and either you'll like it or you will hate it. But the ones we share with the people, and we did a whole like experience with them and stuff, they were really into that. And that's what we really like about doing the experience together with the people, because then you have people that only like chocolate that will say like, okay, maybe craft beer might be a thing for me, and they start like asking the right questions. And then it's the other way around. You have people that said like, no, I only like beer, I don't like chocolate. They will not pair together or whatever. And then you sit them, you give them these truffles, and especially with beers, IPAs are difficult to pair with chocolates and stuff. So we try to make an effort to do like those kind of beers to get these people that are really into craft beer, and I'm a hophead and I just want that. And then they began to start like saying like, okay, how come I haven't tried chocolate like this? And how come because you haven't got yourself the opportunity to try it. So we're trying to get the people together to make more clients out of them for the both of us, right?
And also one technique that we use is first try only the beer, after that only the chocolate, and after that mix it, but also mix it first taking the sip of the beer and after the chocolate and vice versa, and they complete different flavors, and is when the people say, okay, what is that and how it changed it, and it's chemistry.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about these events. You've mentioned getting people together to do this. What kind of tastings and pairings have you had the chance to do, and how do you structure those?
We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, my book on pairing craft beer and craft chocolate is available now on Amazon and on the Bean to Barstool shop. Pairing Beer and Chocolate, a guide to bringing the flavors of craft beer and craft chocolate together, is out now. This paperback book explains the process of pairing beer and chocolate, includes a guide to hosting a pairing at home, walks through dozens of beer styles to provide style-by-style pairing guidance, and gives room for taking your own pairing notes along the way. This is the only book on pairing beer and chocolate available. Grab your copy now at the link in the show notes or on Amazon. If you manage a tap room, bookstore, chocolate shop, or cafe and want to stock the book, get in touch about our easy wholesale process. Beer and chocolate belong together, and this book is your guide to getting the most out of every pairing.
Normally, like for example, for Valentine's Day, we try to do like we help people at the brewery, and we do maybe 3, maybe 4 chocolates with maybe 4 beers, and we try to do the whole explanation and stuff, and try to get them to try them, like Lucia was saying, like guide them through the whole pairing. And we try to go either from the easiest ones, like for example, we used to do like a almond praline with coriander and a little bit of orange with a wheat beer that they're meant to be. It's like one to the other, right? And then, like for example, this year we're gonna do we did a barrel aged best bitter with fig leaf infusion. And then we did a chocolate that has a fig leaf infusion and a jam of fig, raspberry, and cherries. So the idea is to pair them together. And when you taste the beer, it's like, there's something there, but I know it's fruity, but I don't know what it is. And then when you take the chocolate, it's the same thing. But I think when you melt them together, then it's a whole experience.
And also, we find that the leaf is very flavor. I think it's more easy to use than even the own fig. The texture is different. The flavor is more fresh. And also we went to, well, I really like the best bitter. So that's, I put harder in that decision. We need to use that leaf with that beer, because the freshness of the leaf and the caramel and the notes of the fig, it could be very good in balance with the caramels of the best bitter. So Rodrigo get in and create the chocolate, and the pairing is crazy. It's amazing.
And the idea is not to make like, and we know stouts and truffles, for example, they will work together. It's made from heaven. It's easy to do and stuff. We want to push the envelope a bit and say like, we have technique to do a really great chocolate and to do a really great beer, but to pair them together to make people understand that they can ask for an IPA and get a chocolate, or they can ask for a sour beer and get a chocolate, or that it's not only dark beers and dark chocolate.
That is our approach. We try to make some beers that are not dark. there is not a porter, there is not a stout with chocolate. We want to break that characteristic, because all people is like meat and red wine. Is red meat and wine. It could work, but it's not the only possibility. So try different kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Lucia, a little bit ago, you talked about palate training and how tasting chocolate and beer together can kind of expand people's palates a little bit. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how, as a beer professional, you've found working with chocolate and tasting chocolate has kind of expanded your own perspective on flavor?
Yes, I think all start when you try a very high and good quality chocolate. Because also we are in Mexico, we have very bad chocolate, and also the Oaxaca chocolate, they have a lot of sugar, cinnamon, and that kind of stuff. That is not that is bad, but when you have a very good chocolate, you can taste the fermentation, how you can find the different kind of flavor, the cherries, the fruitiness, the vanilla, whatever. We want to start different kind of a structure in the training, in the way that you can buy it and you can find the chocolate that is strong, but also you can, when you melt it in the when it's old chocolate, when you melt the chocolate in your mouth, you can find different kind of sensation. And for me, it's more like an art that you need to be involved in your five sense and try to find another one. When we have this kind of courses or pairing, we put in the specification no coffee, no salsas, no brush tea, all that kind of stuff that are very important to have a very good sensation. And for me, it's more like a meditation in a certain way, because you can find more in that perspective. And also when we have a chocolate with another flavor, like maracuja, passion fruit, also you can find the acidity and you can find that kind of sensation. And the thing is that like a woman, we have different kind of sensation in depends of the cycle we have. But also when we try to make more emphasis in something, we try harder. And when there are men in the same way tasting with us, I say, okay, we need to be in the feminine part. You need to be relaxed, enjoy it. No one is going to judge you for enjoy the chocolate in different way. Como to try to make a safe place in order that they don't feel judged for the other people. So I think that can help in some way. It's more like philosophical and arty, more than try to explain. Okay, we have the sour in this part, the bitter in that part, because if we structure more, people get confused and they don't enjoy if we have more relaxed, more pacific in that way.
Yeah.
But if it's more professional, obviously we can put first, you need to try what is sugar, what is fat, what is bitterness, and separate. It depends a little bit of what kind of customers we have. Because sometimes we have some companies that they only want to take it, eat it. So we don't need to get involved more in the sensation and that part.
I think it's interesting what you just said. Here in the US, and it sounds like from what you're saying in Mexico as well, there's still so much gender stereotyping around chocolate and beer, both. Obviously, people of any gender can like either one, but there's still this feminine perception around chocolate and this masculine perception around beer so often that we're working to undo. And one of the things that's interesting about that is that I feel like it's influenced the flavor and tasting language we use with each of them, where there's a little bit more freedom in the chocolate space to be more poetic and romantic about how we talk about it, where talking about beer is so often very, very concrete, and you're just describing the exact flavors and not getting sort of fanciful and romantic. And I think the two can learn so much from each other just from how we talk about language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the creative advantages that you both find from being able to work together as a chocolate maker and as a brewer, beyond just working with beer or working with chocolate in each of these. What kind of creativity do you find is generated just by working so closely with the other side of this?
I think the good thing about it is, like, for example, for me, it was like pastry and pastry and pastry and pastry. And sometimes, for example, you taste a lot of mixtures that they go together. Like, I know blackcurrant will go really well with vanilla, or I know passion fruit will go really well with, I don't know, maybe mango or whatever. So sometimes it's easier for me to create a cake or a dessert or something with that kind of a combination and kind of that in my mind. But when I talk to Lucia, maybe she sees the world from another perspective, and she's more into like acidity and how the balance and sugar wise and how that will affect the people that are eating it, the diet, and lactose intolerance, all those kind of stuff that in the beginning it was not in my mind. I was just flavor. And then talking to her, for me, it opened a whole door, not only to the beer, but to the pastry itself. Because I started to be more picky about, okay, I will do a chocolate, but I have to take care. I have to take responsibility for that. I will do less sugar, even though I know the chocolate would last least in the shop and stuff. And I start to realize that my ideas were really pastry driven.
Mm.
And talking to her, I think it changed my perspective, but in the same way, I think I kept what I was the most important thing, that was flavor and flavor combinations and how flavors translate to the palate. And that really helped me out of her, like to get me different perspective without losing the whole idea that it's always, for me, it's always flavor. Like, if a cake looks really nice, it's good, but I'd rather take a cake that is not that good looking, but it's tasteful and it's amazing, and every bite you want to get another bite and another bite. And I think that really, really helped me talking to her and interacting with her.
And also it was, I'm a lactose intolerant, so I really hate when I have a beer that they don't say anything about the lactose. Sometimes when we have these crazy ideas about the cakes and the beer, I say we can use lactose. Because also, like a food engineer, the allergies, the intolerance are very persistent. So for me, it's important to have that approach. And also there is a lot of people that use some artificial flavor that I really hate that. And also a lot of beers that they have fruit, but also they have a lot of sugar. And I say, okay, I want to drink something good. I want calories, because in my mind is the nutrition is about to have a very good balance between the acidity, the bitterness, and all that kind of stuff. But for me, the most important is the balance also in the nutrition. I really don't like, and all my students, I say, if you really want to go to the easy way, you can go to the artificial flavor, but the real goal is to have and create something for natural flavors, because also we can help the agriculture And also we have an agreement with try to work with people that we really know. For example, the Rosita de Cacao. I don't know exactly where is the place, but also we have with the production in WhatsApp, only in WhatsApp. But also they give us some techniques how to dry it, how to use in a better way. So that also help us to have a very good flavor, and it's not only the artificial, because it's easy to buy some Hershey's and add to the beer, but that is not technique. There is not
No, and I think it has complement us in a way that sometimes you have to solve the problem that you have in front of you. You want a flavor, but you know you cannot go out artificial. You cannot use lactose, for example. So you have to be creative about it, and you have to be more into, like, I remember talking one time with Randy Mosher, and he was like, to create a good beer, what I only recommend is you have to know your ingredients. I remember, like, Lucia wanted to do a beer with a special fruit that is called capulin, but that fruit has a lot of pectin. So you have the idea, you know you want to do that beer, but at the same time, the engineer came in and said, it has a lot of pectin. How we're gonna solve that? Because we will get that beer done, but we need to solve that. So that, I think that's when creative thinking comes into the mix. And I'm always saying, like, for me, creativity is, you have technique to solve a problem. If you have an idea but you don't have the technique, you might be inventive, but you're not creative in a flavor wise problem, right? So we try to be creative in that matter, like try to put technique and investigation and everything to the problem.
because we have a biggest problem in our mind, because if we make the same beer all the time, it's boring. We need to something that move our brains, and I think it's my spirit, but also him spirit.
Well, with working with that fruit, let's talk a little bit about your opportunities to work with ingredients, whether it's spices or fruits or whatever, that are unique to Mexican agriculture and ecology. What are some opportunities you've had to use those, whether in brewing or in chocolate making?
We have a lot. That is part of the spirit of our brewery, that we like to show the people different kind of ingredients. Sometimes are endemic, sometimes are not. But the thing is that we want to share people, especially people that is outside of Mexico City, that they can use his own ingredients, and it's amazing the flavor, because you can show, because sometimes, for example, Rosita de Cacao. Rosita de Cacao is only in the Tejate, but nobody knows how to make the Tejate, but also we can show people how is the flavor. So I think it's easier to get a beer than the Tejate in other part of the world, and also in other part of Mexico. So we like to show people that is from Mexico or for another country, that we are special. we have a lot of ingredients, fruits, herbs, spice, bugs, and also with the techniques that Rodrigo know about the gastronomy and stuff. Also, we can add more ingredients, and also to talking about the production, they can teach us how to use another ingredients. One example is with a bug. We have a girl that is production of crickets, worms, and other kind of stuff. But the good thing about them is that they put in the oven. So some of that kind of ingredients you can find in Mexico with oil, but with this one we can find without oil, and so that is amazing, because we have more time for the beer and the ingredient, and we can show the people that is beer with high protein or some kind of stuff, different flavors.
What
So
flavors does that bring to beer? What do crickets taste like in beer?
Oh, The thing is to find the correct description about how tastes the cricket. Because in my perception, the most common cricket in Mexico, they are salty and acidity. But the thing is that when you don't have the oil part of the spices, for me it's more like chicharrón.
No, the one that we used is more, I think it was cookie-like. It was like getting like a cookie dough kind of even I think it was a bit in a cookie dough kind of sweet mascabado kind of taste. So we ended up putting that with some mango, and we did a kind of a sour kind of gose. So it was like you get them you got the whole lactose kind of fermentation, then you get the flavor of the fruit, and at the end it was like a cookie-like flavor that ended up the experience. That you were like, is this coming from the mango? Is this coming from the is this coming where? And then Lucia came and said like, taste the worm, and we had the dry ones, and they were like, no, and you just tasted it in the beer. So they realize that when they eat it, and it was a nice experience, and I think it was really good to make people try those kind of ingredients that they wouldn't try if you just presented it like that.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
really
some
interesting.
of them have thick skin, kind of crunchiness.
Yeah, but also you share the people the whole bug in this part, the worm, they say, whoa, what is that? I don't want to eat that. But when you present like a dose of in the beer, they say, okay, I really want to try. And also we made also that beer with also chiles. So warm chiles. It was more like a michelada, high protein, with a lot of flavor, because also we need to find the correct mango in the correct maduration in order to have that flavor that increase the other ingredients.
Yeah,
Sure.
like that one. Those mangoes, they tend to be in May, like they're really also cookie-like, I think. It has a lot of flavor, a lot of sweetness, and with the lactose, it pairs really good. I think the one that I love that we did together is like, there's a flower called achiote from the peninsula of Yucatan, and they do cochinita pibil, that is a national dish that is really, really known. But I think the flower is really earthy, even kind of a fruity. For me, it was like tasting the El Dorado, the hop. So we did a pale ale with a lot of El Dorado and that paste. And that paste is really kind of orangey red. So it was like at the end, the beer seems to be more like a old school kind of pale ale, like kind of the color that Sierra Nevada has, like this kind of orangey, really, really lovely color. But it was only like base malt, but the color came from the achiote, and it was really earthy, piney, pineapple. So people were like, okay, how come you got all this punch of flavor from El Dorado? How do you like put it up? Is it like really fresh hop or whatever? And we said like, no, it's the paste of the achiote. And people wouldn't believe that because they only relate that flour, that paste, to the savory dish, cochinita pibil. And then when you eat it together, like cochinita in a taco with the beer, I think it showcased what we really wanted it, that it's our food, our culture in a dish and in a glass. So those kind of beers are the ones that I think we enjoy the most.
Our flavor, yes. And also in that beer, we make another one, but also with the seeds of the achiote, well, the flower. And it was very earthy, very resiny.
Resiny.
Yeah. It was amazing only to take all take out all the ingredients of the pasta and only use the seeds. It's crazy the difference we have.
How about on the chocolate side? What are some opportunities you've had to work with local ingredients?
Yeah, like with that, I think one of the most that I liked doing, it was like with the pit of the mame, this fruit that it's really tropical. I think I love. Lucia hates the fruit, but I love the fruit. It's really. I think it has a lot of flavor, but the pit itself, when you roast it, it's more like almondy, almost like this amaretto di Saronno. That's like kind of the flavor. So we did a Weiss beer with that. It was a Dunkel Weiss with the pit, and then I did a chocolate with that. And with the chocolate, of course, I did an infusion in the cream. And then when you put that into the chocolate, you get a lot of flavor, like almondy. You get a lot of star anise, even kind of a vanilla tonka like. So those kind of flavors are amazing for me, and I have the opportunity to try them both, and chocolate and in beer. I have done with Rosita de Cacao. It has translate really well to the chocolate, and I try to focus myself in this kind of cultural kind of dishes that people know. What I like the most is to translate something like really savory into something sweet. But sometimes it's hard for people to get it. Like they're like, no, this is really savory. How come you put it into chocolate? But I think the cool thing about chocolate is because of the fat content. It really You can really push flavors if you use it the right way. So I really love doing that.
Well, the last question I always ask is about the story that a maker or a brewer is telling with what they're making. Lucia, let's start with you. What story are you telling with your beer?
I think the story is how great is Mexico because we have a lot of ingredients we can use in the beer to show the people that we have different flowers, fruits, herbs, spice. We can use those ingredients with one beer and we have different kind of results. I think we are very lucky to have all those kind of ingredients. I think that is the main story about the brewery and use those kind of ingredients. We are lucky.
Rodrigo, what story are you telling with chocolate?
With the chocolates, mostly I want to tell the story about how in love we are with our culture and how you can change the day of someone, make them smile with a little piece of something, either a chocolate or a ganache or whatever. I think you can really touch people with those kind of stuff, and you can go deep into their own experience, the history of their culture, of what they have eaten for ages, and sometimes even childhood memories that you relate so back in your head to this kind of a food. I think it's magic what you can do with those kind of experiences. So we like to try to put our heart into that and try to give it away every time we see someone coming into the shop to get chocolates. And I think in a way is the same with us with Itañeñe, with the brewery. We love sharing, we love our culture, and we love to tell who we are, how we get here, and what's next.
After we finished our interview, I asked Lucia about the meaning of the name Itañeñe. I'm going to read her explanation now, and forgive me in advance for any mispronunciations with some of these names. Itañeñe is a legend, Itañeñe is a red flower like an open entrance, bristling with sharp leaves and thorny edges, which emerged in times of drought in the garden of Michiñana, Tiger Claw, lord of Achiutla, the Zapotec area that brought pride to the people subjugated by the Aztec Empire. Every year, the most precious of the virgins was chosen to be given to the sun god, Nikandi. This time, it was Kimi Niami's turn, but she disappeared thanks to Michiñana, who desired her. The birth of the flower, it was thought, announced a cataclysm because Kimi Niami was taken from Nikandi, and the fact reached Moctezuma's ears. Michiñana challenged him to pull it out because he would not do it. This unleashed a great battle in which only this blood flower survived. I can't wait to get to Mexico again this fall and hopefully visit Itañeñe, and of course hang out with Lucia and Rodrigo. If you get to Mexico City, please look up Itañeñe and Tout. Thanks to Rodrigo and Lucia for coming on the show today, and to all of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Bean to Barstool.